So I think they're getting in server here. Yeah, we see them all. And I think we're going to have maps up here pretty soon.
Is it going to be a 2-0 though? Can you've got to provide some insight here. Is this going to be 2-0? Are we going to get the tiebreaker?
Yeah,
you mentioned that
that's the beautiful thing, and this is exactly why I didn't watch games yesterday. Was so I would have no idea. I want to walk into this bright-eyed and full of hope.
I believe there's some games yesterday where GT was playing very well when they were getting a couple of duels going on in the evening, and GT just looked massively talented at that point, and I was my eyes could barely keep up with the speed at which they were playing as well.
All right, but it looks like it's going to be Blood Run up first here. So we've got Milton, we've got Recall, we've got Dev and GT. I won't lie, I've been looking forward to this match for quite a while.
Yeah, this is going to be a much of a learning experience for me, but definitely we had some South Americans coming over at QuakeCon last year who showed massive performances. I wonder if the Brazilians this time rather than Chileans are going to show us what it's made of now.
Keep mixing up in a bit, but we've got Recall here on the first quad, just a couple frags off already, but getting away with this quad is much more about asserting control on the map and starting to maybe rack up some frags in the mid of the map. And Recall's actually got a decent amount here so far. We got Dev and GT both spawning here, and yeah, some really rough spawns are going to turn into a nice cavalcade of frags for Ragnarok already.
So that was about 5 seconds where there was at least 6 frags going on. A very standard procedure going on there. You can see that the score's 13-2 right now, and we're barely a minute into the game.
Right. This is QuakeWorld.
It's just whether now the Team Brazil can actually stop the bleeding a little bit.
Right.
Get the bandages around themselves and really start taking off a little bit. We've got 1 minute respawn times on the quad, so I'm hoping that we're going to see a good challenge from them over there. Yeah,
allowing a quad run like that on the very first one is rather dangerous because it sets a bad precedent for the next couple minutes. And we got Recall once again on the quad. Neither of them have a lot of armor. He has a bit of this mega left over, but he's waiting for this lower yellow armor. We've got Dev coming around the corner, at least putting sights on him. He can at least warn GT, like, hey, Recall's going to be coming through. Might not know exactly where he's going to be, but right now, Recall doesn't know either. So Milton's actually spamming off and actually hitting Recall. So maybe a little bit of trouble in paradise there, as they're both going to be, well, up until a moment ago, both were at rocket launcher. So Recall, I think he only got 2 frags out of that. So good avoidance out of Dev and GT, at least not getting in the way of the bus.
No, that was very solid. I felt that they avoided the quad despite Recall going 100 miles per hour around the map. They were extremely evasive just then. Dev trying to get some damage down onto Recall, but unable to get a huge amount done.
But here's GT, and again, that blur you just saw go by the screen. Yeah, that would have been GT. So we got Milton setting back up on this quad, and actually he's got a bit of health and lots of armor here. He's being really noisy. We don't have Recall there to back him up, but he might be relatively safe here. But no, here comes GT. That's a lot of LG, but Milton's quad rocket coming up just at the right moment, or maybe even a mistiming out of GT a little bit earlier, and I think he might have been able to make that happen. But Milton down to 5 HP here. Oh, and not even one cell glances on him, or even the shotgun to take down Milton. So he's still on a roll here, 30-6.
He's absolutely tearing it up at this point. There's barely any deaths happening from the Ragnarok side at all, and he's just seeing lots of red opponents here that are just going to be absolute suckers for him. He doesn't really want to chase around the corners too much because those rockets can be really nasty in those choke points.
Yeah.
And particularly when you've got the quad, if you hit the wall next to you, you're going to explode.
But GT's keeping them fighting for the armor here. Every time we see him, he's got plenty of LG ready for them. So we got a camera on him briefly. We got Dev looking to at least get a grab on this red armor, but it's not going to happen. GT is not going to be up there either. They're both going to be dying right on the pad. Not super fortunate for them, but with 3 seconds left the quad, they need some sort of weapon, some sort of armor to make this happen. Otherwise, Milton's just going to grab it and go away. GT pushes in for one little bit of LG damage.
It was just a fraction of a second out of timing there to get to the quad.
Yeah. For the second time, yeah, I think you're totally right. A little bit of a change in the pace on the quad room would have gone rather far. But again, GT's able to pull these frags out and stop these guys in their tracks. Let's see if he can actually turn that into any real frags.
This guy's movement is absolutely mental.
Yeah.
And this is a guy to really watch out for in the tournament in general, and just as a star of the game. So see if he can make any progress and a bit of a comeback, but there's just so much going on right around him. He's going to go down pretty rapidly, and we're going to be setting our eyes back on the Ragnarok team for the time being. With 43-20, there has been some solid recoveries actually from the Team Brazil, but they've not really been able to get the momentum flowing enough to really make a huge dent on that lead.
Not yet, but Dev getting away with red armor, and they've been doing enough damage to, again, keep them fighting for the armor. And with these this last minute, I think we're going to see the first Brazilian quad run. It's going to be Dev getting away with it. About 50 and 50.
Hey.
Rico's going to be taken on down. Just needs to rack him up, keep the damage coming. And GT should be able to find some nice one-on-one scenarios as well. So as long as, they both drop down mid-map, that gives up all of their positional advantage. So quad is going to die. They're both going to die right down there. But they were able to close the gap quite a bit. I think there was one little miscommunication there. Other than that, they were looking pretty solid.
Is that positional error basically costing them far too much, and they were just able to take way too much damage.
Absolutely. So Milton's going to be back on the roll. I think they're going to try to enjoy having all of the map control once again, or at least all the armor control, allowing them to move fairly gracefully into quad. But again, Dev is being a constant thorn in Milton's side there. As we hit the halfway point, 54 on 31. I'm not going to call it at this point, but Milton looking all right. GT's going to be up on the pad. We got red armor in 3 seconds. GT might die before that comes up, but no, he's pushing into the quad already. So quad's going to be fairly even, but again, GT spawns. He's able to grab a weapon so fast.
So weak,
making it exactly. So Milton's going to be weak there. He's going to go on down, so it's not going to get very far. However, we saw more frags in the quad room itself that we're going to see in most of these quad runs.
Yeah, that was some fantastic play, I think, actually, from Team Brazil to really make sure that they were going to be weak. If they are going to take the quad, I'll make sure you're on about 5 HP. I think we're going to be rolling up very closely to the next quad timer in a few moments.
Absolutely.
So Milton clearing up the map a little bit at the moment.
But yeah, Rico's got yellow armor, Milton's got full red, and he's just taken away a mega. So this is the most stacked he's been in quite some time. I think they definitely want to get some real control back here and start to calm things down. The last couple minutes have been absolutely hectic between both of these guys.
Yeah, they just need to get some damage on him going into the next quad. If he's still got that stack then and he gets a clean quad, it's going to be absolute murder, and it's essentially going to seal the game at that point. But he's weakening quite a lot. Damage has been decent. The GT staying alive for just a little bit, but there's no really strong person at the moment on Ragnarok in terms of health and armor. In terms of skill, it's a different story.
They keep running into quad, which can either turn into quad dying or you just dying 8 times. But there's another red armor steal, so Rico's going to be fairly weak here, taking all the health he can, finding that yellow armor. But again, GT, he doesn't care. He's just going to try to do the damage. But that does mean that we're going to be finding ourselves at an 80 to 41 point, which is starting to look a little bit dire for the Brazilian team.
I think there was hope, more hope at least a bit earlier when they're trying to hold their own, but the frags have been coming just a bit too slow. And that map control, Rico and Milton are just, they're controlling absolutely everything. And if they let one part of it down, they're so strong still on the other aspects of the control on the map that they can build back on it.
Absolutely. So yeah, Blood Run, it can be a harsh mistress indeed. And again, they did have that window of opportunity a few minutes ago, but I got to go back to that drop down where they both went to the floor. It's cool to have one guy down there, either quad or without quad, to kind of capitalize on spawn frags, but you definitely don't want to both be down there. You kind of lose all of your momentum at that point.
A bit of hesitation as well they had.
A little bit, yeah. All right, so 2 minutes, 28 seconds left here. And Milton's, yeah, he's going to be very comfortable with the blue sheath.
Stack isn't too massive at the moment. A little bit of damage getting taken, but at this point, it's I don't know if it's better to run or to try and kill him right now.
It's amazing. I see GT's rockets in chat before I see him. Like, sometimes I don't even see him, just rockets coming out of nowhere. All right, but yeah, final 2 minutes. I think Ragnarok has defended their title fairly well here on Blood Run, but that's 1 of 3 potentially here.
You can't really be defensive at this point if you are Team Brazil. At least how I look at it from an outside perspective, it feels as if, well, you're already behind, but you're only going to get more behind if you don't attack. You've got to do something. It's either going to get much, much worse, or it's going to be a way into some sort of improvement.
And I don't think this is an automatic sort of play out of GT. I mean, one of the things that really stood out to me about him was the fact that he could go really, really quiet. He would get really sneaky and deceptive on Aerowalk, which is a really difficult map to fool anybody on. But he managed to pull it off a few times. Now, whether they can do it against Ragnarok, who they couldn't have picked a more appropriate name. They are just absolute monsters, absolute gods of QuakeWorld. And climbing Mount Olympus and dethroning them. I know I'm mixing pantheons now, but any attempt to do that, any anything that looks like success at doing that is going to be well worth all the bragging rights.
Well, this is a team contracted to win, essentially. That was the whole point of them coming together. This isn't any business. Oh, we play with each other for so long and it's wonderful to see him. No, it's victory.
No, I think they were dancing a little bit earlier, so...
that's true.
Spirits are high. Oh, jeez.
This spawns, oh my god.
So what do you think of Blood Run?
It's good. I like it. I did play a couple of games of Blood Run before, but having now casted it as well, they somehow make it extremely fast. I never thought I'd be able to see 176 frags at this level within 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I'm loving the movement, actually. These guys, the way that they just get around the map, it looks so smooth and fluid. Yeah. And then when you try and do it yourself, you're hitting your head against the wall.
Stairs, how do these work?
What's going on with my life?
All right, but there we have it. 124 to 54. Just spells a very bloody match indeed as we finish off the Blood Run. GG indeed.
Well, Rickle and Milton are both getting, well, just within a frag of each other there, 63 and 62. GT getting 32 frags and Dev getting 22. Would you expect maybe a bit more from GT, or is it just really difficult to...
I think that's about par for their spread there. And yeah, you do note correctly that Milton and Rickle usually have they usually do have very close scores. Very close. And a lot of these teams, again, they have so much coordination that does end up being the case a lot of the time. So I'm going to try to get back in.
If they do eventually win, then picking an MVP is going to be almost impossible in that case.
Right.
It'll just be completely split between them. But it's fantastic to be learning a little bit more about this game. And when I was interviewing Milton and Rickle earlier, I was trying to get an insight into their feel for the community as they've been around for so long. And they look so young as well, and they've played this for like an amazing amount of time.
Keeps them fresh for sure.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to be jumping back into the server in just a couple of moments, guys, to get ourselves onto map 2 between Ragnarok and Team Brazil. But yeah,
it wouldn't be a Quake tournament without server restart.
Okay, quite. But this is a way of life for these guys, the Quake world, and they can't imagine really life without it anymore. It's been sort of completely ingrained into how they operate, and you can't help but absolutely respect it and have massive admiration for the dedication.
They like the game.
Yeah.
They love playing it.
There's
no sense of obligation.
Man likes
there.
the game.
Yeah,
that's it.
And especially when you find yourself amongst a group of people who are so good and so talented, and you just kind of feed off of each other and build each other up until you just have this room of crazy, scary skill.
What I regret not asking, though, in that interview is that because Milton said he's played it for about 18 years, and Rickle is about 9 years. And I'm wondering, when you're, so 9 years ago, what is that? That's going to be 2007?
Right.
What, at that point, 2007, when the game's already been out for 11 years, what draws you into it? Is that magic, that X factor that the game
like
has?
This, and you think, I can do that, or I want to do that, and then I very quickly realized that I can't. But these guys, you know, they didn't stop there. I think the same could be said for players like Zorakor. You know, he sees a mountain and he says, I'm going to climb that.
No, exactly. And getting top 8 in the tournament, having played the game a fraction of the time that everyone else in the top 8 has played, that's...
And yeah, it is a difficult thing about Quake. It always has been, where you do get skill levels like this, and you feel like, how could I possibly ever compete? You know, just find people you can compete with. Find people who it's fun to play with, and it's always a surprise who wins. And then eventually, you find yourself in this room.
Oh, absolutely. I was talking to a couple
It's just that simple.
Yeah. Make it sound so easy. No, I was talking to a few people ahead of coming to QuakeCon. I was chatting to a nice Belgian called Vero, and they was telling me about the whole Div99 community.
Right, yeah.
And saying that that's really a sort of a focal point for a lot of the players there. I think they still have the community going on IRC if you look at Div99, and they still get a lot of community games going together, a lot of people setting up leagues and tournaments still. So having a game that's 20 years old that still has got that flourishing community on the side, it's amazing. But I'm wondering how is it possible to keep regenerating that community a little bit?
I think it is to some extent. I think, you know, obviously the fact that we could be here and be streaming it and stream it from home has opened a lot of doors for organizing events and having players come together who normally wouldn't. Again, I'm going to take every opportunity I can to shout out to Andy and Sudden Death TV this weekend, just because just the dedication that he and you know, his friends and you know, some of us with QuakeCon and Tastes Clean and you with Z Live, you know, it keeps things interesting. You know, you always find new events, new ways to kind of recontextualize the players and put them in new situations, and yeah, that's why we're still here.
keep things going.
Yeah.
Keep it driving
That
by.
and this is the best game, you know, simple as that. This is the best game.
Quake in general.
Yeah, I've, you know, because I cover QuakeWorld and Quake 2 and Quake 3 and, you know, things like Urban Terror and Morcell and all the little children that have spun off.
Maybe you'll be converted to Quake Champions soon, where they've been having those gameplay trailers as of late. So I think there's maybe more to find out there. Room for discussion at a later point, I'm definitely sure
I look forward to the discussion for sure. Yeah, so much.
It looks as if, though, we've got a countdown happening at the moment. I think Team Brazil is about to play Ragnarok on Aerowalk.
I think so, yeah. Looks like it.
So this is a map that maybe some Quake Live players are definitely going to be
you've
recognizing.
also seen this map before,
I've played some duels on here as well. I've never played 2v2 TDM or watched a 2v2 TDM game on it, but the quad I hear is a pretty interesting factor.
It's in the worst spot.
But that's kind of what makes it fascinating, I think. But it's right in the corner, so if you guys know the lower teleporter, usually, where you have to go by the yellow armor and past the grenade launcher, side, it's right in that sort of corner of the map. There's a staircase there rather than a teleporter on Aerowalk.
This is better.
What happens to that? What's the usual sort of series of
People die.
actions?
It's such a crazy choke point that you just end up with grenades and rockets just defining that. But I think we're getting in game right now.
I think we may have started already.
So we've finally got a little bit of GT cam here as he's got red armor, trying to push up, get this control. I think that first quad died fairly quickly, as it generally does. But you also have that red armor, of course, which with the tiered armor system ends up being so important. It's the difference between being killed by one cell and being killed by two.
Yeah.
It's a massive difference. And so, you know, you want the quad, but you also want to make sure that you can start to save some resources for your team. So we've got a bit of a mix-up here at mid-map, 6-on-5, already a much closer match here. We're going to have to see if that maintains through the next couple of minutes here, as Milton's looking to clear the hallway. Needs to watch out for teammates as well, or teammate, rather.
I wonder if GT's going to get a bit more of a time to shine on this map. They've got the game tied up already. GT working with very little health at this point, but trying to jump around all over the place. That teleporter is just messing with my mind right now.
Just throw rockets at every conceivable angle. So Dev's going to be taken on down. We have GT floating above the quad, but it's going to be, the quad was actually taken. Dev's like,
dead.
wait,
it's gone.
Where's the quad? I didn't even see it come up, but it was just dead the very first frame of acquisition.
They still managed to, be on the first minute. We still got a tied game at the moment. We've got that red armor, a little bit of a contest going on for it. GT up at the top, being pinned in the air.
Oh, yeah. Pinned by shotgun. Holy crap. So yeah, Milton with some beautiful rockets, and yeah, DDK was bringing this up earlier, where you start throwing rockets because you made a frag. You're going to assume that they're going to be spawning in one of like the only like 6 or 7 spawn points. So hey, try to get those free frags.
Being able to string together all those spawn kills is just a fantastic way to be able to accelerate your lead. And this is what we really need to see Team Brazil do. When they're able to get any kind of control, they need to start really honing down on all those spawns and being able to take out Rickle and Milton before they're able to get the rocket launcher or the lightning gun or any armor even.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Milton and Rickle are just so good at stabilizing as quickly as possible if they lose even an ounce of control.
So that one frame that you saw there was the quad being picked up and taken.
A frame.
That one frame. And yeah, there's just so many decisions like, okay, if I go to quad, I'm probably going to die. Do I want to die? Is it okay for me to die right now? Does my teammate, is he going to be able to hold down something while I do that? Or if you realize, hey, no, we don't have red armor, we don't have mega, we don't have any resources, screw it, you know, just dive right in. If we get a quad, awesome. If not, then, you know, no big deal.
Well, I guess no one goes into quad expecting to come out alive.
Right.
Almost. It's just, let's just get rid of it. Let's just reset the timer.
Get that quad off the map.
It's about it.
All right, but Milton is actually looking fairly well stacked here, now extending the lead 36-16, just about 3 minutes in. We got GT with only green armor. Milton looks like he's going to be trying to hunt him down. He doesn't want GT kind of free roaming the map here. It's going to be kind of dangerous for him, but Milton coming back over red armor. Doesn't look like anybody's going to be there for the moment, but we have quad coming back up. Dev's going to be on it a little bit early. Milton's going to get the grab, and if he gets out of here alive, yeah, they don't want him to. They want to put the pressure on, make sure we don't have like a mega health red armored quad running the map, because there's no room here. It just turns into a meat grinder.
Yeah, being able to get out of that area. I think that's the third quad now, and finally getting a bit of space with it. Is he able to pick up a lot of frags? He seems to be finding it fairly difficult to really close the gap with all players, but just as I say that, he strings together 4 frags in about half a second.
Magnets on all their foreheads. All right, so absolutely crazy shots coming out of Milton, just showing us exactly why they're favorites. You know, they're definitely the team to beat.
Yeah, that was unbelievably quick what we just witnessed there. I'm still slightly flabbergasted.
All right, but Dev's going to be back over at the teleporter. Milton taking away yellow armor.
Get out my way.
Actually going to be back here.
Move.
This is actually a big deal because if GT and Dev set up their positions right, things go quite well, and that LG is going to be absolutely brutal. GT finding him at the spawn as well, but that does leave the quad up. He's only got 10 health, so even shotgun would do it. However, Rico's long-range rocket is going to be able to pin him down from across the map. Nice air rocket. That's going to be quad exploding in mid, resetting that there. And now we've got Dev actually on the red armor. They've got a large hill to climb here in the last half, but now for the first time in several minutes, it looks like they might actually have the resources to put that together. Dev hopefully is going to be able to control red armor long enough to, well, I don't know what he's going to do with that, honestly. He's like, all right, I've got red. That means they don't have red, but GT, you keep hearing him dying.
That's a good place, though, I think, from Dev to really hold this area for the time being.
Absolutely.
But he needs GT. Is he just saying, all right, GT, you just, like...
I'll be here.
Do things?
You do you, yeah. And finding, oh wow, the timing for Milton's spawn, that couldn't have been better for Dev. That's a huge help. But hopefully GT's going to be able to pull together some frags himself here. So 27 to 68 as Dev breaks out here. And yeah, being fully red armored up, this is a good time for Dev to shift over to quad, as he now has a good chance of getting out of here alive and starting to take a run himself.
Very impressively done from Dev, actually getting out a little bit to get a little bit that quad time going. Needs to health up some more because he's so weak, but he is doing fantastically well with the quad damage.
That certainly does help out a lot. He was getting some crossfire for a bit, but it's really GT's responsibility to keep those rockets out of Dev's face for the moment, at least until he gets into a better position. But there's the LG coming through the window, and Dev's going to be shut on down, but that quad run certainly did make their situation a little bit brighter.
They kind of halted his momentum relatively quick. And I feel like GT at the moment, we're just watching him from every perspective we look at that isn't GT's. He just seems to be being blown up constantly. I don't know the last time it was that we actually saw GT's perspective, because he's just on repeat death at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're 16 to 14 right now over on Ragnarok. We got Milton and Rico at 45 and 37 respectively. So yeah, they're being incredibly solid here. And so who was it who actually was in the interview who was boasting about Ragnarok's chances here?
It was Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It was both of them.
Both
Milton and Rico were...
It wasn't like Rico was going, oh no, we might actually not take
No,
this.
there was no sort of no diplomatic response or anything like that. It was quite assertive, definite, yes, we're here to win. Both of them confident. I think maybe Milton a little bit more anxious, maybe,
really?
or at least visibly anxious. Not that he was trembling with sort of...
Eager might be the word,
yeah.
Let's do this.
But I think he doesn't want to big himself up too much, and then if they lose, he wants to give himself that out in case they do actually lose a game.
Well, the only real danger here, because this is double elimination, is if GT and Dev let this one go to their heads, if they get kind of psyched out by it, they will be going through the lower bracket, but we've seen so many teams crawl through the lower bracket before to come back in. So if it's anybody, well, it might be these guys.
Well, and all of the lower bracket games are going to be played today as well. So every match, apart from the grand final, is going to be played on stream between, the
viewers should be very happy to learn
7.
that we are starting to stagger matches so we can milk this tournament for everything it's worth.
Exactly, and a lot of the loser bracket games are going to be seen. So right now, the winner goes through to the winner bracket finals, the loser goes down to loser bracket. We haven't got any proper elimination games just yet. No, the next game is going to be the other winner bracket semi. And then after that, we will be witnessing some more intensity.
Absolutely. It's been going by so fast already here. But yeah, it looks like we have a pretty decisive win coming out of Ragnarok. Yeah, their spirits are high. I think everybody's energy level is pretty high. They went to bed actually at a decent hour last night. The room kind of cleared out kind of early. They came in just before the player meeting, so I think everybody's rested up and ready for today, which is more than I could say for myself.
Well, I feel, though, that quite impressed, if anything. I don't know if I should be with Ragnarok at this scoreline, because it's been ever so convincing. The way that people have been talking about the Brazilian team, I've been feeling like, oh wow, they've actually got a chance to make a couple of upsets here, but clearly not versus Ragnarok.
Right.
It seems to be one-sided, complete dominance from them in the end.
You could tell, though. I mean, it wouldn't take much for things to turn around. There's a few things here and there. I mean, you can see that GT is just constantly on the attack here, on the plus forward. Dev is trying to kind of create these situations for him. And when Dev is able to get armor and get out on a quad, he's fairly decent himself, but it just hasn't been consistent enough. But there are so many games like this where, you know, you see like 50 to 100 where the actual differences between the teams are fairly minute. I mean, it's differences like that that allow you to get, yeah, that like 50 frag in the lead, but it can very quickly change.
Well, it's being able to string it all together in the end.
Right.
And if you're able to stunt that so quickly, the way that Rickle and Milton are able to do it,
Right.
then I always feel like that's the impressive part. When you have nothing to work with, no weapons, no armor, and you're able to just prevent imminent death.
Yeah, I am certainly impressed by Ragnarok. It's just, I tend to look at it like, I'm impressed by anybody who can get over the bar. I don't know if the bar itself is something it's like, wow, that's a high bar, and certainly Ragnarok sets a high one. All right, but final 38 seconds here, and yeah, the Brazilians actually having a fairly decent last minute here. We're seeing a lot more mix-ups. Things are a little bit more chaotic. There's much less definite control from Ragnarok, but unfortunately we're playing with 10 minutes today, not 20 or 15, and so they're just out of time to make this run work for them.
No, dude, they can't just suddenly pick it up in the last minute and decide to try and make a 70 frag comeback. They need to be getting in that game much earlier. But it's a shame for them because right at the beginning, the first minute or so, it looked so close, but it just did not take much time at all after that for Ragnarok to extend a huge lead.
Things keep slipping away there, but there we have it. Congrats to Ragnarok as they will be moving forward in the upper bracket.
Again, impressive how close Milton and Rickle are in their score, 66 to 62 this time. So yeah, it's very difficult to tell which one of them is superior as a player.
Yeah. Oh, they're one unit.
But I feel as if though GT maybe, from the hype that's been built, for me at least, people telling me that he is Brazilian superstar and he's a guy who performs amazingly on his own, and as an individual player, he does fantastically.
Yeah.
He, against the pair, Ragnarok, there doesn't seem to be that much spark that I haven't been able to see. Maybe it's unfair on it. I really hope that I get to see it a little bit later and that he's able to show up maybe a little bit more, or if it's just purely that Ragnarok shuts down any star power like that.
That is certainly a factor. It's difficult to kind of make a run when you're constantly dying, you know?
Yeah, no, completely. And
And
there was a lot of them in that game.
Yeah.
Devos actually didn't seem too bad. He was really trying to play a sort of
That's
slow
what I
game.
keep telling everybody.
Yeah.
He's fine. I think he's aware of the fact that he's got, these massive clown shoes to fill. Mm-hmm. No, he's a solid player. He's certainly competent.
Yeah, but that's it. He was trying to play a slow game, right? I'm going to keep hold of an armor room.
Right.
I'm going to make sure the weapons
he might be trying to
and
create like a situation for GT. I think he's trying to like put himself in a role, but then those same situations mean that, oh, I've got the armor, so I've got to go get quad. So maybe. Yeah.
But that's where I think the communication maybe needs to be improved.
Right.
I'm holding that red room right now. I've got it, and I know exactly when it's going to spawn. Come here and pick it up yourself. Right. And that's where he needs to be able to provide for. He needs to have that support factor for GT rather than just playing one role and say, "I'll take this item and you do the things in the rest of the map." This is my part of the map, and you have the big part of the pie chart.
I think I might agree. We're gonna have to see if they can apply that in the lower bracket.
Yeah,
but since we are staggering matches, I think we might be able to get ready up for our next one. We're gonna be seeing Team Maroon and the Aeronauts.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have put down the player names here and everything.
Here.
I know exactly what's going on in this game.
I love your little notepad.
I know, it's cute, isn't it? So we've got Carapace and Loktar versus BPS and Locust.
Yeah. They all know each other just incredibly well, so it's going to be one happy reunion.
So who's the favorite team here? Is this one a bit harder to read, do you think, or
it is for
there a
me,
clear-cut
just
victor?
Because the number of times that they've actually played as Rune or as Aeronauts in 2v2 this year have been relatively few. I mean, because of the nature of online tournaments, it's like, oh, I'm not available this day, so you have some trades happening, and so it's like, well, it's going to be a close one. I can tell you that.
Do you think we're going to get a 3-map this time? Because it's been some fairly convincing games that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Either side, we haven't had anything that, we might get an overtime just now. I think there was a game you followed maybe after one of the official matches that was very close. But
right. Yeah, it was a little bit of a scrim. It was a good scrim to jump into.
Yeah, it looked pretty tight, but I'm wondering if we can get that into an actual win bracket semi, then that would be absolutely glorious, to be fair.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to look for that match. I'm not sure if players are in the server just yet, so we might take a short session here as we figure out where they're at.